Hi, I'm Ryan with your Neville Museum Minute. Today we're going to be going back into our collection storage area where we store over 100,000 three-dimensional objects, over 1 million photographs, and over 4 million feet of film. Let's go. Hey, so we're back in the museum's collection storage area, and we also have a special guest with us. This is my friend James. How are you doing today, James?
Hi, I'm doing well. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, so James is a research technician here at the museum. What exactly does that mean?
It means a lot of things. As the research tech, I help a lot with collections management. I help with exhibits. I help with education, all that kind of stuff. I've also helped curate, or I have curated the science exhibits that we've had here, birds and bees. So,
yeah, so a lot of stuff, a lot of different stuff. Yeah, and I asked them to come back here today because we're looking at just a small selection of our collection that's stored back here. We're looking at some of our natural history specimens, and specifically we're looking at seashells today. And since he's a science guy, I figured who better to talk to, right?
Yep.
So let me ask you a real basic question to start off here. What exactly is a seashell?
All right, so a seashell is basically the exoskeleton of an animal that lives in the ocean. A lot of seashells come from animals that are part of a group called mollusks. So mollusks are like your snails, clams, nautiluses. Basically a lot of things with shells or things that you can find on a menu at like Red Lobster.
Oh, delicious stuff.
Yeah.
So what exactly are the shells made of? Because I know when I'm at the Red Lobster, you know, you're cracking the crab legs, you're scooping out the meat from the lobster tail. So what exactly is all that stuff made out of?
All right, so like crab legs, seashells are made out of something called calcium carbonate, or aragonite more specifically, and it's basically a brittle mineral. And then what happens is that mineral is added to proteins inside the body, and it creates a sliding mechanism to create a really sturdy seashell. And that comes from an organ inside the body called a mantle.
Okay, so it builds kind of an exoskeleton, like these are superhero sea creatures.
Yeah, it builds it from the base up. So when they combine together, think of it as the proteins are your iron beams, and then your aragonite or your calcium carbonate is the concrete that gets poured over it. And then when they combine together, they create a structure that's really strong.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so James, what do animals use these shells for? Aside from, you know, body armor, what else would they make a shell like this?
So animals would make shells like this in the ocean, A, for armor predominantly. The other one is it also helps support their squishy bodies on the inside. And then also when they develop, they can develop in different shapes and sizes, like you see here. So some shells are developed with spines. Some scientists believe that they develop these for protection from predators in a way that makes it so they don't have to make a huge bulky shell that's really heavy to move around. So they can still have a lightweight shell, but it still protects them. Other shells may be smooth because it helps them hide in the sand better or anchors them in the sand better.
Sure.
Things like that.
Yeah, so I mentioned, speaking of our seafood menu, animals like lobsters and crabs are actually crustaceans. How are their shells different from these more common seashells that you might find?
All right, so they're different in the sense that in seashells for animals like mollusks, those grow with them throughout their whole life. So when you look at a seashell, you'll see that if they whirl, I have one right here. So you see the whirl on this shell.
Yeah.
If you go towards the pointy top on it, that's going to be where the juvenile stage started, and then it just
Really?
grew throughout their whole body.
So they just
Throughout their
keep
whole life.
making it bigger as they grow bigger.
As they grow bigger, yep. Whereas in crustaceans, like your crabs and lobsters, they have to molt. So what happens is they will shed that shell, and then they will grow a new one as
really?
they get bigger. Yeah.
All right, so James, you said that the shells mostly came from donors over the course of the museum's history, but why is it that we took these shells in as donations? Why do we want shells like this in our collection?
All right, so for museums like ourselves, we want shell collections for two purposes. One, so we can exhibit it for the public, so the public can see all these different shells that they might not see normally. The other one is for research. So at larger science institutions, they will collect shells like this because it gives insight into the animal in the past. And then what happens is when you can compare, let's say, a shell from 1915 to a shell from 2020 or 2020, if they're from the same species, you can see how that species has changed over time due to like global warming, climate change, just seeing how the species has changed if they move to a different area over time. So essentially what it is by collecting specimens like this, we're creating a baseline that we can then continue to use in the future to see how the species has changed.
Oh, that sounds really important.
It is important, yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
So my last question for you if people want to come check out shells like this and see other things in our collection too, where can they do that? How can they see these things?
All right, so as of right now, we don't really have any shells on display, but later this year we are opening a new exhibit that will be housing a whole bunch of artifacts from upstairs in our storage collection, and shells will be a part of that, so they can come and see that type of thing later this year.
Yep, very cool. So again, our new core gallery is opening in 2020. So as of this filming, it's still under construction, but it will be open soon, and you'll be able to see artifacts like this and all kinds of other cool things from the museum's collection as well. All right, well, thanks for joining me today, James.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so thank you for watching. You can check out other Museum Minute videos if you want to learn more about some of the different exhibits and artifacts that we have on display here. Thanks a lot.